Hope everybody is doing fine. Happy New Year, whoever is celebrating New Year.
Happy New Year. Tamil Puttandu Vazhuttukal.
Tamil, we also have
Bengal.
Assam.
Baisakhi also.
Baisakhi also, right? Baisakhi, and then more than 5 states we are celebrating New Year today.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Rajasthan.
Oh. Yeah, Vishu also
Yeah.
is there. Vishu.
Yeah, Malayalam. It's Malayalam they call Vishu.
Vishu.
So Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and then Punjab,
Bengal.
Rajasthan, and Bengal. I know that they are celebrating the same day, April 14th.
So may we all continue to progress on the path, and may we all have hopefully a spiritual new year ahead in spite of all the challenges. So welcome again. So today we are going to start from Shloka 51. So this is the 4th section of the Bhakti Sutra. We have total 5 sections. So let us start. So let us recite the Shloka 51. Anirvacanīyaṁ
Anirvacanīyaṁ.
prema-svarūpam.
Prema-svarūpam.
Yes. So in this section, Narad Ji is describing the ultimate love, divine love. He is describing Siddha Bhakti. That is the 4th section, primarily about that. So in this Shloka, Narad Ji is saying, the inherent nature of divine love cannot be described or defined. It can only be realized. See, previously we had discussed how God cannot be explained. God cannot be theorized. God can only be realized. Just like that, this love, ultimate love, is love for God. So just like how we cannot describe God, we cannot truly describe this divine love. It can only be realized. The point is, what Narad Ji is also saying is, both Bhagavan and Bhagavan's love, they are both infinite. They are both boundless. So we cannot try to put words and define that which is boundless. See, if you think about it, explanation, we are very proud of the ability to intellectualize, the ability to define things. You know, people say, explain it to me. That's the first question people say, right? Whenever you are talking about a new concept. But we have to understand that, even simple things that our senses take for granted, even that we cannot truly describe. Do you know that? If you think about it, let us say someone was born blind. They have never seen light in their entire life. And now they are like a little grown up. Now you have to explain sunlight to them. How will you explain? Think about it. How will you explain sunlight to a person who was born blind? You can't. See, in normal circumstances, if I have to ask you, how do you define sunlight? You will say things like, sunlight is 100 times brighter than moonlight, or it is 1,000 times brighter than a bulb. But this person does not understand light. This person is born blind. Now, how are you going to explain sunlight to this person? That is the limitation of our faculty of explanation. When we can't explain even that which can be perceived by the senses, how can you try and explain that which is beyond the senses? That is why they say we cannot explain, we have to realize it. I want to point out that there are different words in Sanskrit. When you want to say something is indescribable, there are different words. Words like avyakta, avarniya, nirupakya, vagare vagare. There are so many different words you can use, but Narad Ji chose the word anirvacanīyaṁ. That's very interesting. Because this word can also be used to describe a person who cannot talk. Anirvacanīyaṁ. vachan is talking. So in other words, similarly, if a person doesn't have a tongue, how do you explain taste to this person? Think about it. Can you explain taste to somebody who doesn't have a tongue? We can't. Our faculties of explanation are limited. We can't. In other words, similarly, even simple things, there is one Guruji who gives the example of a kind of worm which takes birth in the trunk of a neem tree. Neem tree is known for being bitter. So this worm is born in bitterness. And it spends all its life in bitterness. Now try explaining sweet to this worm. How would you explain? You want to explain how is laddu? How will you explain? You can't. So in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna tries to comprehend the Vishwarupa, you remember Vishwarupa Darshanam? So there is this Shloka, Aneka Bahudar Vaktra Netram Pashyami Tvam Sarvotanantarupam Nantam na Madhyam na Punastavadim Pashyami Vishwarupa. I see you with innumerable arms, bellies, mouths, eyes, having infinite forms all around, O Lord of the universe. Your form is the universe itself. I see no beginning, no middle, no end. Arjuna is trying to describe the universal form, but he is falling. He's at a loss of words. So this chapter is indeed a significant depiction of Krishna's endless and limitless nature. Now, at the most, Arjuna can say that Krishna, your form is limitless. That is the most he can say. But Arjuna still can't explain what limitless means. Even for us, we can at the most say it is infinite, but try explaining infinity. You can't. So, we have to understand that God's powers, of course, they are limitless. And that's why we cannot fully describe them. And so this you accept. Everybody raise your hands if you accept that God's powers are limitless. There is no doubt there. Everybody acknowledges that God's powers are limitless. Okay. Now remember what Krishna has said about Ananya Bhakti. Remember what he has said in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna has said that this devotion, pure devotion, it is so powerful that even he comes under control of the devotee. Even he comes under control of such love. Now, just a minute ago, you all said God's powers are limitless. In other words, God is limitlessly powerful, and yet he comes under the control of divine love. In other words, this divine love is then more powerful than the limitlessly powerful. And if we cannot describe or explain even that which is powerful, how can you explain this divine love which is more powerful than that? That is what Narad Ji is trying to say. He is saying, so this Siddha Bhakti, you cannot explain, you can only realize. Now you know Narad Ji was the guru of all gurus. He was Raja Rishi. He was, all the rishis considered him to be the guru. So he was a great guy. So many of his students, they requested, they said, okay, we understand that this cannot be described, but can you at least give us some, flavors, some attributes, something, give us something. So then Narad Ji goes on to try and provide some kind of explanation. But before starting to do that, he makes it very clear that this is all an attempt. We cannot completely explain. It has to be experienced. Just like God, we all try to explain. We all try to say God is like this, God is like that. But we know at the end, the true nature of God can only be realized. But That hunger for that realization comes when you have this partial understanding. Just like that, if you get an idea of what this divine love is, then our hunger for divine love will grow. That is the intent why Narad Ji is trying to make an attempt to describe this divine love. So, Shloka 52, mūkāsvādana-vat,
But
which means like the taste enjoyed by the dumb person. Maybe now it becomes clear why Narad Ji chose the word anirvacanīyaṁ in the previous shloka. He's setting he's preparing his argument. Now in the second shloka, now he is clearly saying like the dumb man's experience of delightful taste. Narad Ji says this divine love is like the response of a dumb person. Now here we are not talking about a person who does not have a tongue. Here we are talking about a person who cannot speak. So Narad Ji says, when this person receives something sweet, however hard he tries, he cannot explain to you what he just tasted because he cannot speak. So if he cannot speak, what can he do? He can make sounds, noise. Try making any kind of gestures with your hand. You cannot explain sweetness, that sweetness that you have tasted. So he's saying it is so beautiful. So he's saying just like that dumb person cannot explain the sweet that he has just tasted, no matter how hard he tries. So there is a very interesting shloka in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It says, Astulam anu ashrasvam dirgam tanavayam sayat na chakusha grihyate napi vacha nantara devayataha. That which is neither gross, nor subtle, nor short, nor long, cannot be grasped by the eyes, nor can be expressed by the speech, nor known by the senses. Look at how they are describing. They can only describe it by what it is not. No, because even Arjuna, that is how he was trying to describe the Vishwarupa. No end, no beginning. He can only say what was not there. He couldn't say what was there. See? So this is how even the Upanishad is trying to describe Brahman, emphasizing that it is beyond the perception of the senses and grasp of the human speech. It is how profound it is. That was a shorter one, so we can go to the next shloka, shloka 53. Prakāśate kvāpi pātre. Prakāśate means comes to express or is manifested. Kvāpi means rare. Somewhere, sometimes, pātre in a fit recipient. So what it means is only in the hearts of some rare ones who are capable and deserving recipients, this kind of indescribable divine love and grace of God gets realized. Narad Ji is saying that this love that I'm talking about, this divine love that I'm talking about realizing this divine love, but that realization happens only in some very rare souls who have succeeded on the path of Bhakti Yoga. So Narad Ji is trying to motivate us. He's not trying to intimidate us. He wants to motivate us. He wants to say that you have to strive to be the rarest of the rare because you want to experience that which is rarest of the rare. So as we discussed in the earlier verses, one of the prerequisites to become eligible for God's grace is practicing selfless love for God. Practicing is the word. We have to practice Ananya Bhakti. We have to love God for the sake of God's happiness, not for our own happiness. Some people like, I asked one person, why does he like to do this, that karpur in the morning? And he told me that because he really likes the aroma of camphor. So I didn't tell anything to him, but basically, when we are expressing love, it should be for God's happiness, not because it makes us happy. Because otherwise it becomes a bhakti of convenience, because we are only going to do things that we find pleasant. That is not how we practice selfless love. Because that is how we love others, right? We love others based on what they can do for us, how we can derive happiness. Whereas in Bhakti Yoga, we have to practice selfless love. Selfless love basically means you are only saying how can it give happiness to God. That's all you are worried about. Just like those gopis. When Krishna was going away from them, away from Vrindavan, the gopis were not saying what will happen to us. They knew they are going to be suffering. They knew they are going to be sad. But the gopis were like, if this is going to make Krishna happy, then we're not going to stop him. That is selfless love. That kind of love we have to practice for God. Without attachment, without expectation, without thoughts for our own pleasures. See, one thing you have to keep in mind, this is something I want to tell you. Like many times throughout our lives, I'm giving a very practical analogy so that you can understand. Throughout our lives, your friends or even you for that matter, you means even I am included, we are all, we usually hesitate to express love. Why? Why is it so hard? There is when I was very young, I might have been 12, 13 years old. I remember there was a quote that was in the newspaper, Indian Express. That quote was in bold. There was a beautiful poster behind. But that quote made me thinking. And I think that quote made me a better person because that quote said, dare to care. And I didn't understand. And I tried asking a few people, but people didn't really have the explanation. I couldn't understand where is daring required. Why is daring required for caring? I mean, it didn't make sense to me. But then I grew up with that quote and I kind of understood what it means. You have to, it takes courage. But the bigger question is, why is expressing love so difficult? It's because of the fear of rejection. It is because of the fear of your expectations not being met. It is because of the fear of the reaction not matching what you expected to be. There are so many fears attached. Sometimes you will say, oh, otherwise that person will take me for granted. Otherwise this person will think me I'm weak. So million things we attach. Love itself is not the problem. The problem is all these attachments to it. When you don't have attachment, you will have no sankoch, you will have no hesitation to express love. You will express love to anybody. So the key point to keep in mind, Krishna kept saying in the Bhagavad Gita that lust is a challenge. Lust is a problem. But what is lust? Lust doesn't just mean sexual attraction. In the most fundamental aspect, lust pretty much is love plus attachment. When you mix love and attachment, that becomes lust. Because the problem with lust is it makes your mind agitated. It makes your mind agitated. Your mind then cannot be calm. That is why that expectation becomes a problem. So lust basically is love with attachment. You love, but remove the attachment, then it becomes divine love. There is nothing wrong in love. The problem is only with the attachment. So I'm repeating this many times so that you can understand what Narad Ji means by practicing divine love for God. So you will say, oh, I to always say, Krishna, I love you, Krishna, I love you. That is not necessarily divine love for God. Okay, the divine love for God has to be, are we having love without any attachments? It's not easy. It's easy to say. Doing is totally different game. But at least if we know this is what we are supposed to do, slowly, we should practice. Practice it with people, practice it with your parents, practice it with whoever you can, practice it. It will come. That is key. That is why previously in the introduction also we said, divine love is when we are not thinking about mukti or bhukti. No mukti, no bhukti, only bhakti. Then that is divine love. Now it is, of course, as you can imagine, it's extremely rare. It's extremely rare to reach this state for anybody. Very hard. And it is written in many scriptures that it is the Guru's job to help us reach that state by constant guidance and monitoring. This is one of the jobs of a Guru, is guide, coach, monitor, and make sure that the students understand what does selfless love mean. Once understanding comes, the practice will start. Once the practice starts, we will make progress. And Narad Ji also says that until we have it, we do not truly have it. But once we have it, we will have it forever. He has such a beautiful way of putting things. This is. Until you have it, you do not truly have it. You cannot have a little of it. You either have it or you don't have it. And then he says, but once you have it, then it is yours forever. You will never lose it. Eternal. And to reach this state, a devotee has to surrender their material passion and desires to the infinite. And when this surrender is complete, the devotee merges with their love for God. And then there is no more separation between the two. That is when you truly unite with God. That is the meaning of uniting with God, is when that divine love manifests in your heart, then you don't see a difference between you and God. So that is Aham Brahmasmi. That state, when you have realized this divine love and you have realized that me and God are the same, then, till then, you are in the mode of duality, where you think you are separate, God is separate. So, I know this is very difficult. We have said it is very difficult, but the key is we should never stop trying. We discussed earlier this. Spiritual progress, it's like a long marathon. It can span multiple lifetimes also. You never know. And you also don't know. This could pretty well be the last lap of your marathon. This lifetime. You don't know. But what we have to do is don't stop running. You don't know. Maybe this is your last lap. And in this life, your marathon, you finish. And winning the marathon basically means you finish it. That is all you need to do. Correct? So consistently, wholeheartedly make the effort. Be consistent. That's very important. And Krishna has also promised that if you are consistent, your faith will keep increasing. And the promise is, once your faith is strong enough, you will reach the highest spiritual state. In the material world, there is a saying, big shots are just small shots who kept shooting. I really believe that. The same thing holds true in the spiritual world as well. It's not that only, you should not think that I'm not capable of, that is only for Sadguru, that is only for Ramakrishna. It's not like that. They also kept shooting. That is how they became a big shot one day. Just like that, you keep shooting. What does it mean in bhakti? In spiritual practice, what does keep shooting mean? It just means be consistent. Keep shooting. Be consistent and eventually you will succeed. Someone said, yeah, I think we can do the 54th shloka and then we can wrap it up. Let's do the shloka number 54. Gunarahitam.
Gunarahitam.
Kamana-rahitam.
Kamana-rahitam.
Pratikshana Vardamanam.
Pratikshana
Avichinnam.
Avichinnam.
Sukshmataram.
Sushmataram
anubhava-rūpam.
Anubhava-rūpam.
This is probably one of the longest shlokas in the Bhakti Sutra. So this shloka basically means guna-rahitam means devoid of all attributes. Kamana-rahitam means without any desires whatsoever. Pratikshana vartamanam, growing every moment. Avichinnam, unbroken, constant. Tukshmataram, supremely subtle. Anubhava-rūpam, of the nature of immediate experience. So it means this supreme love is devoid of attributes. Attributes means gunas. So this is nirguna, this supreme love. It is free from all selfish desire. It grows in intensity every moment. It is a continuous and consistent inner experience, subtler than the subtlest. So the first aspect Narad Ji is calling out is the divine love is without any attributes. What does this mean? See, first of all, love itself, he's saying, is without attributes. And secondly, if you see, our love for anybody, these concepts are all very true and they are very deep. We just have to think, reflect upon them, they will make sense immediately. See, usually our love for anybody depends on certain qualities of the person, correct? Person or object. But we will say person because mostly that is a problematic love. Because the object never says it doesn't love you back, right? So a person. So for example, you will say, I love him because he is so strong and intelligent. I love him because he is so handsome. Or I love her because she is so beautiful. I love her because she has such a sweet voice. So on and so forth. The simple thing to keep in mind is in divine love, there is no because. So if somebody asks you, why do you love God? And you say, because, okay, stop it. That's not divine love. So if you can say, I love God for the sake of love, I just love God, there is no because. Then that is love without attribute. That is the purest, strongest love. See, why should love be without attributes? Any hints? Do you have any ideas? Why do you think love shouldn't depend on attributes?
If we see something depending on something, then we cannot love the way we want to.
Okay. Very true. Now, there are two aspects to it. First aspect is...
Because it changes.
Exactly. This is Prakriti.
Because it changes, yeah.
Doesn't matter which attribute you are attaching your love to, that attribute will change. It is not whether it will change, it is not when it will change. Guaranteed. But because your love was attached to the attribute, when the attribute changes, your love changes. But divine love is supposed to be without attribute, right? That is the first aspect of it. So can you practice that? Whenever you say, no, I don't want to get into it, but in general, if you feel disappointed with somebody and you catch yourself saying, I loved you, stop and ask yourself, what are you saying? It is not that person's fault. Because attributes, they are bound to change. It's nature. So whatever you saw in that person, you are not seeing today, but that's nature, that's natural. The problem is not that. The problem is you are attached to that thing as if it is Sat, as if it is never going to change. And now when it changed, you are disappointed. So the problem is with your side, not with the person who is changing. Correct? So, but this is one of the most popular complaints people have. I'm talking about change. My laptop just went blank. So it also changed. Okay. One of the most popular complaints is, tum kitne badal gaye? You have changed so much. And we feel all sad. Arey Baba, it is a law of Prakriti. The poor guy can't help it. Change. He's going to change. He's designed to change. Okay, so the problem is we were attached to some aspect. See, this is the first reason why our love has to be without attributes. The second reason is we just discussed the definition of lust. Because when your love is based on a because, that is attachment. You are attached to the person's strength. You are attached to the person's intellect. You are attached to the person's beauty. You are attached to the person's body. Something. So then that is not love. That is lust. If your love doesn't have any because, only then you can say it is not lust. See how hard it is. But that is all that is required. And if you can practice that, then you will have no fear of love. Then you will have no worries about love. Love will not bother you. You will be able to freely accept and express. Because that is divine love. You really are not worried about attributes. You are not worried about attachments. You are not worried about reactions. You are not worried about disappointments. You see? So if you can practice that, start small, but practice it consistently, then you will know what this Ananya Bhakti, divine love, is. I hope I'm making sense. So there is in my opinion, I won't say it's my personal opinion, it's based on whatever I have read, the teachings of many great saints and scholars, this is one of the main, this is a very deep thing, I think this has helped me, although I'm not yet totally God relation, but I think I'm still better than what I was many years ago. So I think this would help. So I think this is one of the many reasons, or this is one of the main reasons why God puts us through various difficulties and trials. Because that is how He can help us practice divine love. Because if you can love God when things are not going the way you wanted them to go, see, otherwise it is a love based on attributes, right? You're going to say, I will love God if I get my visa. I will love God if I get a promotion. I will love God if I get a bonus. I will love God if my business does well. I will love God if I mean, there are so many. Poor guy. How many attributes we attach to our love? We have a full list, laundry list of things that God has to fulfill in order to deserve our love. But then that is not divine bhakti. That is not pure love. And Narad Ji has said, we have to practice it in order to get it. So how do you practice it? So God helps you practice it by sometimes not giving you what you want, by sometimes putting you through tough situations. If you can still love God, that means you are practicing divine love. So you have to be thankful. That is the reason why some of these saints, they used to say they are thankful to God for the hard times. But we people in the material consciousness, we think they are mad. How can somebody thank hard times? How can somebody be thankful that they don't, or they have so many troubles, you see? But that is, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna had said, day of the saint is like night for material people, and day of the material people is like night for the saints. Just like that. We don't understand, but this is one of the fundamental reasons. So this is how we practice divine love. And the question you should ask, why so much practice is important? Practice kyun kar rahe? Why do we need so much practice? Let us say your goal is to win the world championship in wrestling or in boxing. Let us say that is your goal. Now, the way you are today, can you just go get into the fighting ring and start fighting? What will happen? Within 5 seconds, you will be knocked out or dead. But if that is your goal, then what you have to do? You have to start practicing. And you have to start building your strength. That is important. Only then you can reach that goal. Just like that, this divine love is a very strong force. So you cannot handle it. If you want to handle it, you have to practice. You have to build that inner strength. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a 16th century saint. And he was himself an incarnation of Radha and Krishna. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known for his deep love and devotion to Lord Krishna. You all know that. And his life and teachings, they are described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, very beautiful text. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotion to Krishna was so intense that sometimes he would lose control of his body. It is all documented. He will go into a very weird state, ecstatic state. Sometimes he will fall down, sometimes he will collapse. Who are we talking about? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He is the incarnation of Krishna and Radha. And even he couldn't all the time handle that divine love. How do you think you and I are going to handle it? That is the lesson here. Of course, it's just another Leela of Krishna who wants humanity to understand the importance of divine love and how strong and intense it is, and the need for purifying ourselves and preparing ourselves to receive that divine love. But once we become capable, God is more than happy to grace us with that divine love. And once we receive that love, it will never cease to flow from God. It will only keep getting stronger and stronger. And it will pervade every cell of our body. There is a statement in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Maybe Suchita ji may understand it. It is in Bengali. Pardon my pronunciation. I am reading the English transliteration of it. It says, Kabu yadi ei premar hoi ashroye, tabe ei premanande anubhav hoye. I don't know if I made any sense, but the translation says, if I become the abode of that love, only then I may taste its joy. The exchange of love between God and God's pure devotee. When we talk about that exchange, the devotee is termed as ashraya and God is termed as vishaya. So divine love is exchanged between God and devotee. Now the devotee side, they are calling us ashraya, and the God side, they are calling us vishaya. So now Krishna is referring to his dearest devotee, that is Srimati Radharani. And this is very beautiful, it's very profound. So Krishna is now talking about Radharani, and he says, although I enjoy her divine love for me, I know that the enjoyment that Radharani gets from this divine love is many times more. Because the ashraya is a lot more, because God is infinite. We are not infinite. So the experience we have when we receive that kind of love is a lot more profound than the experience that God has. So Krishna says, I have to become the ashraya in order to experience this divine love. Even God says it has to be experienced. So God wanted to become that ashraya. And that is the reason why Radharani and Krishna together took the incarnation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that is the incarnation. The purpose was God himself wanted to experience divine love from the receiving side. So, although Narad Ji has tried to explain his divine love, he also says that this divine love is anirvacanīyaṁ. Again, he says, although I'm trying to tell you all this, my dear devotees, this divine love can only be experienced. It cannot be explained. I hope this all made sense. Hare Krishna. I think this is enough for today. I can stop the recording and then open the floor.